Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is a new Monday, a new week. Same old Bitcoin, up and down. We've had an awful lot of drama in the last 48 hours. We're going to cover all of that. Today is a Monday, so it's charts day. We're going to have a look at the DXY. We're going to have a look at the total 3. We're going to have a look at the Bitcoin chart. We're going to have a look at Bitcoin dominance. Probably have a look at liquidation data as well while we're at it. And we're going to look at basically where we think Bitcoin is likely to go between now and September. I expect us to run up in October, and I don't expect an awful lot from Bitcoin between now and then. It's going to be quite a stats-packed show, a numbers show, which we do on a Monday morning just because we like to suffer. That's the only reason we do it. A few good mornings because there's not many people in chat today. Hidden is here, Danny is here, and Manjeet. And they're the only few people I have seen flagged up as being in chat at the minute. I haven't had a chance to look at Binance to see he's over there. So good morning to you, Binanceans. I hope you are all doing well. Before we get going, one big announcement. Wednesday night will be the fourth and final quiz night of this series. We had a crypto quiz night. We had a Maple Finance quiz night. We've had a Wolf Swap quiz night. And the final one of the 4 will be Mew. And that is Wednesday night. So, if you want to win it yourself a bag of Mew, show up on Wednesday. Try and get as many of the questions right as possible. Try and beat the likes of Tariq and Danny and Kabir and Mary. Try and beat them and try and take away the bag of Mew. And if you can't make it and you watch it on catch up, then use it as a learning experience. So that's where we are. That's where we are with the show today. I'm going to tell you very briefly what we're going to talk about. We've obviously got the X-Files, we've got the charts. We're going to talk about an $80,000 Bitcoin. I know, I did say on Telegram this was going to be a very somber show. I'm not bearish, by the way. I'm going to go through that when we talk about Bitcoin, but there we go. We're going to talk about the very first strategic Bitcoin reserve being born. We're going to talk about Sol going to $100. We're going to talk about mindset. This is a tweet that I really enjoyed over the weekend from Fink. They are a trading club that I follow on X. I'm not a member of them, no affiliation with them whatsoever, but they put out a really good tweet that I'm going to include. We're going to talk about a hack as well that happened on some of the news publications, crypto news publications, all about that. We're going to go through what the implications are. But first, before we begin, I suppose it is customary to go and have a look at the crypto prices. Let me bring them up first and let's see where we are. First of all, let's go over here. There we go. Let's have a look at the Bitcoin prices. I have resumed the mini-me focus in the bottom right hand corner. Bitcoin coming in 101,850, down 1%. And we've talked about this before, but it's important to just remember, the higher the price of Bitcoin goes, the more, in terms of the numbers it moves, reflect 1 or 2%. So when we were at $40,000, a $400 move was 1%. Now we are in excess of $100,000. A 1% move is $1,000. So when you look at these Bitcoin charts, now I think is a good time to start looking at the percentage move and not the numerical move. Because what happens when we get to $300,000 or $400,000 for Bitcoin and we have a 2% move down? $6,000 is a big number, not if it's only 2% of Bitcoin. So I think it's about time we started thinking in terms of percentages, not in terms of the actual value that we've moved. And secondly, and this is just as important, people need to remember they can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. They can buy Satoshis. As the number gets higher, instead of targeting buying 0.1 or 0.01 Bitcoin, look at buying 10, 20, 50,000 Satoshis a week. Start thinking in those terms. And then in the future, when Bitcoin is worth an awful lot more, you'll look back at those 10, 20, 50,000 Satoshi purchases and realize that you were buying $10 worth of Satoshis that are now worth $40, $50. That's how you should look at these things. I look back at when I used to buy Bitcoin. I used to buy Bitcoin in 0.1 amounts. I used to buy 0.1 of a Bitcoin every day. So now the price is an awful lot higher. Think about it in terms of Satoshis and think about it in terms of percentage moves. Ethereum is coming in at 2250. Again, these are not bad numbers considering what is going on in the world. Everything is going to be down, but when everything is down, we go up, and when everything is going up, we come down. It's the reverse psychology of now that we are full of fear. I would expect the S&P and Bitcoin to probably have a green day today. I think I said in one of the Telegram groups I'm in, I wouldn't be surprised if we're back at 104 or 105,000 in the next day or so. However, if there is another event that takes place, we're certainly going to break 100,000 again. We can't possibly know those things. So you have to have a mindset ready for 98,000 and you have to have a mindset ready for 108,000. That's just the way you have to be. Further down, XRP is clinging on to $2. I'm very proud of XRP right now. I did say on, I think, Friday, I think XRP could break $2, maybe go down a little bit. Holding on to $2 by a thread is fantastic. Solana at 135, that's done incredibly well. Tron, ignore Doge. Cardano at 54.5 cents. Again, we lost 60 cents for Cardano, which was likely to happen. Hyperliquid is holding on. It's up 4.5% in the last 24 hours. It's $35. Again, if you want to buy hype, and we do continue to move down, and you want to buy hype, I would be looking anywhere in the $25 range. Now, that might sound a lot. That's another 30, 40% down. But by all means, we could come down another 30 or 40% in alts. Absolutely. Doesn't mean that it's game over. It means that you have another opportunity to dollar cost average in. SUI at $2.50. Again, where were we? $4.50. We were looking at $5 before all of this happened. So a $2.50 SUI. If I said to you 4 weeks ago, you can go and buy SUI in a month's time for $2.50, don't buy it today, would you hold on to your cash? Maybe. So maybe you want a dollar cost average into SUI as well. And can we go down below $2? Yes. We don't know where we're going to go, but we can give you some indications in today's show. So the markets, this is going to be fun. The gainers of the last 24 hours story for Sonic is up. Again, I was buying Sonic at 50 cents. Still haven't lost my conviction in Sonic at 50 cents. So why would I lose my conviction at 28 cents? S&P back down to $1.07. Hopefully you took profits. The Oracle covered SPX 3 or 4 consecutive streams. He told you the prices it was going to go to. If you took the profits, you were walking away with 50 to 100% profits. Take those profits when they're there. We say this all the time. We don't know there's going to be a black swan. We don't know when the retracements are going to happen. So you take the profits along the way. You are not married to SPX, so take the profits. Had you taken the profits at whatever it was, $1.70, you can buy back in today and almost buy double your bag. Hype is up a little bit. The coin that I won't mention is below $1. Don't care about that. Losers, I'm expecting to see some 20% losers today. No. That can't be right. Surely we're going to have less than this. Okay, they're the gainers. Incredible. That's all I'll say about that. Jito, good project. Pendle, good project. Pepe, good meme coin. Flare, Mantle, good project. Ton, decent. Aerodrome, below $1, very decent. These are the times you should be looking at which coins you don't have exposure to. And again, I'm going to show you some stats about Jupiter in a minute because loads of people are bailing out of Jupiter. And Tariq specifically asked me in chat if he should be unstaking, and I said, give me a few days. I'm going to tell him what I know now today when we get to it. But I mean, look at the losers today. XRP, decent project. Sui, decent project. Aerodrome, makes money. Ton, lots of people like it. Mantle, lots of people like that. Jito, Pendle, all good projects in the bottom there. These are the times where if you want these projects, you should be going to buy them. Right then, let's move on. I think I've got a video. I think I've got a video and a meme to lighten the show today. I think I have. Let's just wait for it to load. A lot of tweets have been deleted recently. I've noticed that. I think that's because we've had a lot of volatility in the market. People put things out that maybe change a few hours later, so they delete it. That's entirely their prerogative. Again, this is your crypto portfolio. This is your crypto portfolio. I've got to be very careful I don't get copyright struck on showing you this video. There is a baby koala. This is your portfolio. This is your portfolio. There we go. There we go. It's trying to hold on and it's gone. Now, like this baby kangaroo, your portfolio may have fallen over today, but it's going to get back up. And that's something you need to be aware of. This is a macro event. Bitcoin has no skin in the game with what's going on. Neither does Ethereum. No skin in the game. But like the stocks and everything else, they will be affected by the macro. Alt season soon. This is quite a funny little meme. Alt season soon. Please be quiet. Alt season is not going to happen until Bitcoin dominance finds a top. And a lot of you that are very heavy on alts are going to be absolutely wrecked right now. And you'll be wrecked probably for the next few months. But if and when we get the alt season, the most important thing is to be in alts that have value. Not meme coins, not the likes of Trump or Melania, or even metaverse coins. You want to be in coins that have got value. Somebody buying the dip, Michael Saylor, nothing stops this orange. He has gone full falling down, hasn't he? He's gone from a little pocket knife to a bazooka with his purchases. He's bought more Bitcoin today. There are so many news articles about institutions buying Bitcoin that I can't include them all. It'd be a 3-hour show and it would be boring as hell to watch. We don't want a boring show. We want an exciting show. Good morning, KB. Good morning, Bullish Bull. Good morning, Solo Sky. Solo Sky, I've got some very important news about Dupe. So don't put the show on and go and lie down and go back to sleep. Make sure you listen to this bit. And as for KB, we'll get to you in a minute. Right then. But Bitcoin bulls successfully defended the support on close. I have a channel for Bitcoin. And I've put it in Telegram. And it's quite a big channel. It goes between $100,600 and about $109,000. And that's my channel. And had we closed underneath that channel yesterday, I'd be a little bit more worried than I am today. And I don't know if Matthew Hyland has the same channel, but he has a line there at 100,000. I don't know if that's 100,700, 100,900, but it's about the same area. Bulls defended it successfully. There was a lot of worry yesterday that we were breaking down. But you get that worry when you have these types of events, because as we've been saying, I think it was a week and a half ago I had my rant about mainstream media. Mainstream media, you have to understand one thing about it, and this isn't a conspiracy theory. They struggle to make money unless you read their articles, because they get impressions. So how do they get you to read their articles? How do they get you to watch their CNN or their BBC, not the BBC, but Sky News or GB News, whatever it might be? They will give you news that is either cataclysmic, the biggest ever, the worst ever. We're heading towards a global. You know the headlines that they do. Now, why do they do that? It's not reporting. It's sensationalism because of clickbait. Because they are a profit-making business. Profit-making businesses have to make profit to survive. They're not charities. They're not like the BBC, even though the BBC has gone way too out there for my liking. But there we go. Anyway, the point of the matter is they have to make money. And they don't do that by being level-headed. They don't do that by telling you a balanced opinion of things. They do it by telling you that the world is coming to an end in any way, shape, form or possible. You know, whether it be the climate, whether it be the conflicts that we're seeing, whether it be a financial problem, the debt issue, all of these things, they're all brought on by manic news. And what unfortunately has happened with that is that politicians have also started to feed from the same trough. So you see politicians from both left and right giving these massive, great big announcements, these sound bites to try and grab your attention. And it's all nonsense. And you have to find the truth in the middle. And that is very difficult to do. Now then, I'm going to give you my balanced opinion on Jupiter. Lots of people are unstaking because, as I said last week, their DAO has been suspended for the rest of 2025. I put a tweet out, which of course nobody reads because it was negative, and it basically said the DAO was not fit for purpose. It didn't work because it relied on other projects, and that's where Jupiter never works. Never works when it relies on other projects. When it relies on itself, it's fine, and I think that needs to be the lesson. Now, some numbers from Jupiter. $1 trillion in volume has just been achieved. 1.7 billion swaps, 49 million traders. It has a sub $1 billion market cap because of the market that we're in. I think it's at 33 cents. These are the numbers. Now, active staking rewards. You're going to be rewarded in Jupe for holding your Jupe in their rewards program. And you're going to get them every quarter. And that carries on regardless of them stopping the DAO vote. So if you keep your Jupe staked, you will get more Jupe in return. Now, what we're seeing is an exodus of people from Jupe. They're leaving because the DAO has been stopped and they're not going to get their airdrops that we used to like. But it was flawed. And they've admitted it. And you've got to give credit where credit's due. And my issue with builders who build in silence and don't confront their communities, not confront, but don't liaise with their communities, they're the worst type of builders for me. And there are pros and cons of building in silence, pros and cons of building in public. I want you to make mistakes in public because this is a new industry. You're never going to be perfect. If you build in silence and you make a mistake and you don't retrospectively deal with that issue, then what are you? You're just like a traditional company. You know, McDonald's puts out a new burger and everybody hates it. It will withdraw it. There's no announcement, we're going to launch this burger, and then everybody turns around and says, that's a terrible idea, we don't want that. And then they don't release it. And then the fans win. It's fan power or it's customer power. Jupiter are building in public, and Meow and Cash are very young people. And I've said this before, they need some older heads in there. It's like watching a group of frat boys building a multi-billion pound business. It's great for now. Same with Vitalik, I'll say the same thing about him. He needs men in suits to come in, steady the ship, work on communications. It's not about being boring, it's about having some experience in how to communicate with your audience. I am not going to sell my Jupe right now. I will sell my Jupe at the end of this bull run. But then, as I've said 100 times before, there are projects that I'm going to buy back into. Chainlink being one, I will be buying back into Jupe. Number two, I will probably buy back in some of the AI projects. I will certainly be buying back into real world asset projects. But I will do that when we've gone through the bull run. I will buy back in 6 months, 12 months time. Everything is being sold in my portfolio apart from Bitcoin. Everything in my portfolio is being sold at the start of this year, I think, maybe the start of this year. And I've changed my mind, which I'm perfectly entitled to do, and I'm not going to be selling my Bitcoin. So, Solo Sky, you will no longer have to vote. Tariq, you will no longer have to click a button every couple of weeks. You, by all means, you can unstake them. That takes 30 days. If you do unstake them, you won't get any ASR rewards, which if you don't want them, that's fine. And then what you can do is you can maybe wait for the price to go back towards $1 and you can sell. That's my non-financial strategy for how to get out of dupe. But I'm not going to sell until we get to the bull run. Now then, we're going to move on very quickly because this stream is going to last an hour and a half and I don't want to keep you there for an hour and a half. I want to try and get through this as much as possible. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. It's no bad thing. Right then, so this is what's coming up this week. Nothing today. Consumer confidence, yeah, not really interesting. Tuesday, Powell is going to testify. He's going to get absolutely roasted tomorrow. He's going to be roasted. Wednesday, new home sales. Again, one of the three things that Powell wants. That will be interesting to find out on Wednesday. Thursday, we have retail, jobless claims. Again, that's a big number. GDP, home sales again. That's pretty important for rate cuts. PCE, core PCE comes out on Friday. That might be interesting. So nothing at the start of the week, as always. Towards the end of the week, let's listen to see what Powell has to say on Tuesday. That will be some insight into what he's got to say, and then maybe Thursday and Friday we have a little bit of hopium or good news or whatever we want to call it. Now, liquidations, this is going to be fun. We're going to look at 24-hour liquidations. I'm expecting a 1 billion number in the bottom right hand corner for liquidations, simply because we know what happened. Let's go to 24-hour. What do we have for liquidations? We don't have a billion in liquidations. We have 656 million. That's actually a lot less than I expected. Longs, of course, were crushed. Shorts, not so much. It was quite volatile over the weekend. Maybe the liquidations are a little bit lower because it was the weekend. Maybe that's the case. Maybe people decided to sit out, close their positions on Friday and just wait to see what was going to happen. I think a lot of people knew something was going to happen over the weekend or towards the weekend. And I think it took a lot of people by surprise. But, you know, I'm not cynical at all. But if Trump's going to do something like that, he's going to do it at the weekend, isn't he? Because it's not going to affect the markets. And that's just me being cynical. I might not be right about this, but you never know. Now then, this is my DXY chart. We should probably take a couple of these lines off here. We don't need all these lines. The only thing we care about is my Bob Ross line. We're arcing up on the DXY. We probably don't need this anymore either. Get rid of that. So, the DXY is slowly moving up. It's going to break 100 at some point. We have July the 9th to look forward to, which I believe is the America-China trade deal, which apparently has been going very well. They're still stuck on a couple of issues, one being security or imports to do with security. There's a couple of other things, but on the whole, I think we've got the majority of the deal over the line, and the tariffs are due for renewal on July the 9th. So there could be a lot of volatility in about 2 weeks' time. What are we in June? Yeah, 16 days' time. So a week, 2 weeks on Wednesday is when we'll get the volatility. So I'm expecting this to arc back up, back into this channel, get back over the bull market support band and start moving back up. The DXY is slowly coming back. Remember, a lot of these things we look at, they don't change a lot from time to time. The one thing you need to look at really is how's it doing with regards to the trend line that we drew. And you know what I call the Bitcoin dominance? We call it the runaway train, because it doesn't seem to have any brakes, it doesn't seem to have a driver. But have we reached a significant number at 66%? Did we reach it? Or are we just knocking off the top of our trend line? 65.7%. We have, on very few occasions, wicked above the the trend line on Bitcoin dominance. We came awfully close here. Are we going to see that break? Interesting thing about Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin goes up in value. Bitcoin dominance goes up in value. Bitcoin goes down in price. Bitcoin dominance goes up. It's a win-win for Bitcoin. We need prolonged, either sustained price action where we don't move, which gives the alts time to catch up, or we need a real breakdown in Bitcoin dominance. Forget the Bitcoin price. We need a breakdown in Bitcoin dominance. Now, we can come, according to my trend line here, we can come all the way down to 62.5% and still be in this range. And we have done that in the past. I mean, we've come down here. This was probably the tariffs, I'd imagine. The tariff news, did we break down here? That came down here. We've broken below it over here. So it's not hard and fast. It's just an indicator. It's just a guide to where it's going. Now, 70% up here, I'm not expecting to get anywhere near that. That was where we got to 4 years ago. We're in a different time now. We're in a different world. And we do get cycles and we do get patterns. But patterns can be different. Cycles can be different. Bitcoin dominance is still going. At some point, it is going to top out. And we are not going to get an alt season if we get a massive alt season. We're not going to get that until this stops. Because Bitcoin is 66%. It's 2/3 of crypto. 2/3 of crypto is in Bitcoin. Think about that. 2/3 of every single dollar in Bitcoin, in crypto, is in Bitcoin. That's how powerful it is. And it's not stopping. And it's going up, and it's going up, and maybe we have a small little correction now, and then it goes up again and goes up again, at which point, up here, does Bitcoin dominance see the end? I don't know. 66% is a nice number. 2/3 of the market, that's a nice number. When do the alts run? Well, we're not going to see an alt run until Ethereum does something, and Ethereum is doing what at the minute? Broken down, lost 10-15% of its value. Everything is, the macro is ruling the waves right now. Now then, this is the total market cap of crypto. And as you can see, we did break below this line here, which was coming in at 3.18. And I was saying we need to target this up here. I wanted one last glorious leg up. That's what I wanted before the summer lull. I wanted us to get to, 3.6 trillion. That's where I wanted us to go. And at the time, we were at 3.4, 3.3. We didn't make it. So if we didn't make it, what happens? We come down. And where did we come down to? We came down to the bull market support band of the total market cap, and we wicked right to the very bottom of it, and we've bounced back. Now, every time we bounce off the bull market support band, we do one of two things. We either come up and retest it and then break down, or we bounce and we come back and we go higher. And again, we're heading towards July. I have said, and I made an OG video yesterday about this, I have said July and August are in the bin. They're in the bin. We are going to do nothing in July and August. I said it last summer, and I think I probably said it the summer before. Nothing happens in July and August. And if we don't get a new all-time high, we are not going to see a new all-time high until September, October. And we are now on June the 22nd. So one of the headlines is Bitcoin's going to go down. Another one of the headlines that I've done is something like Bitcoin to 80,000, something like that, depending on where I'm streaming. Now, again, I don't want to be super bearish, but I'm telling you what I've been telling the OGs for, I don't know, or maybe some of the OGs can remember. I've been telling you this since probably February or March. And what I was saying in February or March is we needed to put an all-time high in April. And I was wrong, and I've said it on here before, and we put it in May. And then, if we're going to do anything, we need to have another top now. And if we don't get a top now, we do nothing for 3 months. You might as well go and watch, I don't know, Beard Meets Food, or go and watch Manchester Airport arrivals and departures, okay? Because I'm going to sit here when we're at 90,000, 88,000. So I know it's looking good for alts, isn't it, today? And then the alts move 0.1%. So I'm not saying that we're going to come crushing down and we're going to go to $50,000. But we're running out of time. At this moment, in this part of the cycle, we are running out of time. Now, July is 8 days away. Do we honestly think we're going to be at 125,000 in 8 days' time when we've got no rate cut, we've got no Fed announcements, we've got nothing? We might probably not have any end to anything else. And again, that is pretty much what we've been doing. We're coming down again. We've come down to this line here, which has been a significant line in the past. This was the top in March, April last year. We've come straight back down to it. We're there now. Next line down, which we're probably going to go to. So this is this is crypto excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're at 780. I'm saying we could go to 720. That's about another 10% drop minimum from where we are. But again, I'm bullish, but I have to obviously expect the market to do what the market does. And the market and the cycle, not the market, the cycles have not done anything outside of what we've been saying. I have been saying to the OGs that we're going to have 6 to 7 30% drawdowns in this cycle. It doesn't mean 30% exactly. It doesn't mean 40 or 50. It means 25 to 30% drops. Okay, and we're going to get onto that after this. Now, again, let's just steady our horses a minute, okay? We're at $102,000. Everything and the kitchen sink has been thrown at Bitcoin. Everything. We did the 30% retracement during the tariffs, and we rebounded. We may go lower depending on what happens in the next 96 hours. We may go lower, okay? But what's happening now is not the same as what happened with the tariffs. The tariffs were about money and money flows and trade and business and the economy. And what's happening here with what's happening now is a small fraction of what was happening. Donald Trump set fire to all of the tariff agreements with the rest of the world. As the biggest consumer on the planet, he ripped them all up. And we came down 30%, which miraculously was what normally happens in a cycle. This isn't that, okay? Not at the minute it isn't. Anyway, so when you read some of these articles, I do want to preface this and say I've not suddenly become bearish, and I've just said this, I know, but I want to make sure that when you read these articles, they don't overly panic you either, okay? Give me 1 second. One of the problems with this new laptop is it is not backlit, so I can't see the keys. I've got a bright light shining in my eyes, and I have this black keyboard in front of me. I can't see the keys. I should have got a backlit keyboard. A trading analyst has warned Bitcoin could lose its 100,000 support and face deeper losses in the coming months. Bearish sentiment continues. Master Ananda, he said that 88 and 82. Now, 88 is my target. Let me put that out there. And he put that out on his trading view June the 22nd. The Fibonacci retracement level on the daily chart suggests that if Bitcoin falls through 100,000, it could quickly slide to 88,000. My issue with a lot of these things is timing. And My timing for this to happen is probably not going to coincide with this person's timing. A rapid sell-off could follow without buyer support at these levels. $2 billion were minted yesterday. $1 billion on Tron and $1 billion on Solana. They're buying the dip. Okay, so that's $2 billion on the day of the dip came into the crypto market on two different chains. So when you see that and you see very little outflows, I think I saw today 150 million leave and was burnt in 2 billion in, 150 million out. I mean, there's no real comparison. So the dip is being bought right now. The outlook suggested that a quick drop to 80,000 would be probable and be short-lived. Again, I don't think we're going to see such dramatic action. Bitcoin enters major demand zone, which is, again, something really important. And I'm going to show you the chart on this now. Does he have a time frame for this? Despite fears and an everything is over narrative in the market, the expert noted that Bitcoin's long-term outlook remains solid. Absolutely. Absolutely. Technically shows that the demand zone has historically been a stronghold, and Bitcoin still looks promising in the broader time frame. Absolutely. By press time, Bitcoin was trading at 102.8. Yes, we know about that. And we had the wick down to whatever we went down to, 98.5, I think we came down to. If Bitcoin loses this support at 102, a drop below 100, which is exactly what happened. Let me show you the Bitcoin chart. And now I haven't looked at this Bitcoin chart in weeks. Before yesterday, and I've drawn a couple of things on the chart that I want to show you, and we're not going to do a Bitcoin history lesson here because we don't have time, and I don't want to spend all day on this, like I've said. Just saying, what if was the low and we go up from here? Okay, let me explain on a very long term example of what I think is going to happen. Okay, now this is what I've been saying to the OGs for, like I said, February. I think Bitcoin is going to come down to the bull market support band, 96.4. Not today and not tomorrow, but it will retrace to that. And then this chart, or these lines here, if we take them to the end of the year, I think we could do for the summer very much this. And then in September, we break out. Now that's a really roughly drawn line, and we're doing this on the daily, and I've compressed the chart, so you have to excuse my drawings. But the point is, let's just very quickly go back to this period here. This was last year. Everybody was super happy that we got to this point. And then we came down, and then we went up. And then we came down, and then we went up. And then we came down, and then we couldn't break it. And then we got here, and then we broke it. We used the support band as bull market support band as support, and we rocketed up to a new all-time high. Okay? It's there. It's in the chart. It's what happened last year. Now, what have we done? We have come up, new all-time high, came down, rejected off the line again, and we've come down again. Okay? Now, it looks, at this moment in time, awfully similar to what happened last year and the year before. Okay, and if you go back to 2022, remember what happened in July 2022? We put in our bottom, right? Now, I'm not saying we put the bottom in July. I'm saying that we have a very good chance of... You're going to hear from a lot of people. There's so many things I want to say, and I've got to try and do it in the most coherent way possible, so I'm not losing you. Because we've done this and we've put in a lower high, you're going to hear people tell you that this is the end of the bull run, because we've put in a top and we've put in a lower top in quick succession. Why did we put in that second lower top? Or why did we drop so significantly? Because of Trump. And it was a 30% correction. If we do another 30% correction, that takes us to about 78 to 80,000. Okay? Worst case scenario. So you're going to be told the bull run is over for the next 3 months. Everyone's going to tell you the bull run is over. Now, the reason it's not over is we've not had the wind in our sails. We've not had interest rate cuts. We've not had inflation under control. We've not had Powell talking dovish. We've had tariffs. We've now got conflict. These are not the things that signify the end of a bull run. The end of the bull run will happen, yes, if we don't get any rate cuts and oil goes back to $100 and the conflict escalates. There's a very good chance it's over, okay? Because even Bitcoin is not going to be able to break out of that, okay? If there's a massive recession in 2026 as well, by the way, we're not going to go up. We're not going to do this. And then suddenly get into 2026 and there's a recession. Bitcoin does not do that. At what point in Bitcoin's history has it ever done that? What Bitcoin does is short, violent moves to the upside, and then it wiggles. Okay? Violent and wiggles. Okay? So we spend, 80% of our time talking about the next move, don't we? We spend 80% of our time going, it's going to come, it's going to come. Or, as I'm saying now, we're running out of time. How do we go to an all-time high in July and August without rate cuts, without the money supply, with conflict, with potentially the tariffs not being resolved? How do we do that? The volume will be lower as well. And I know I spoke about this at the beginning of last year, or maybe even April last year, and somebody in chat laughed and said, we're not going to have a summer lull. And what did we have? We had a summer lull. Is that because I'm psychic? No, because we have a summer lull. So I think if that we could be in this channel. Now, the bottom of this channel, by the way, actually doesn't come down as far. It comes down to about 95,500. But again, these channels can see wicks outside of the channel. And that's why I'm saying, if we put in a new all-time high, we have to break 111,573 and hold it for a few days, a few weeks, whatever, and then we're going to have a summer lull. Now, what we could do, in answer to KB's question, is we could do this. Okay? And yes, we could have another channel up there. But I don't see us going up and up and up and up and up. Now, of course, black and white swans can completely change everything we've said. Is a white swan or a black swan? What's a white swan? A white swan is the American government turning around in 3 weeks' time and saying, we've been buying Bitcoin for a month, and we've bought 20 or 30,000 Bitcoin OTC, and we're going to be buying Bitcoin here on in. Okay? Who is going to announce they're going to be buying Bitcoin? Why would Bitcoin be bought and told? Okay, that's a white swan. What's a black swan? We know what a black swan is going to be. So either of those two things can take us to new all-time highs. We go to 125,000 by the end of June, if that comes out. There's not enough time, though, for everything else to get into play. So we're not set up. It's like, you know, you could have look at Arsenal. Why did Arsenal not win the league? Because they didn't have a striker. Great defence, great goalkeeper, decent midfield, no striker. They're not the complete finished product. Bitcoin, to go to new all-time highs, the team is not set up to do that. And I'm not saying we need a Goldilocks setup for that. I just mean everything around us is weighing Bitcoin down. It's depressing Bitcoin. So I'm not saying that we go to 50,000. I'm saying that between now and September, we're going to have 20-30% dip. Between 110, maybe down to 80, maybe down to 82 to 88,000. But it's not going to be a violent wick and then we start going to all-time highs in August, unless something happens in the market. Yeah, I mean, we can. We can. I mean, like I said, I'm not professing to be able to predict the future, but having read the previous cycles, I'm just reading some of the comments that Simon and KB are saying between themselves. I just think we're going to come down, and I'm not saying we're going to come down and it's game over. There's too many positives coming out for us to be over. Let's leave it at that. There's too many positives for this to be the end. Can we still go through a super cycle, as everybody keeps calling it? Of course we can. We could run till June next year. Absolutely. Of course we can. Think of it this way. If by the end of this year, we've got the American government buying 20,000 Bitcoin a month, and then you have what I'm about to show you now happening, and you have another 100 companies buying 100 Bitcoin a day, there's not enough Bitcoin. Some of these ridiculous targets of $400,000 or $500,000 for Bitcoin will come to pass, and I will be wrong. And you know what? I will be on here one morning drinking directly out of a bottle of champagne, smoking a cigar even though I don't smoke. I will be deliriously happy with Bitcoin at $400,000 or $500,000. But until that day happens, you gotta stick to what you know, and what you know is 150 top, 140 top in this cycle, come down next year, spend a year in the doldrums, and then we move up. If the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve breaks that, fine. Absolutely fine. If the ETFs as a whole with Solana and XRP and Cardano, if they break it, fine. But let's stick to what we know until it doesn't fit. Now, Texas is the first strategic Bitcoin reserve funded with public money. Okay? This is a monumental day. This sets the tone for the states in America. Now, there are 30 states, 26 states that are probably going to pass this. And they're more than likely all going to be Republican states. So 26 states are going to start buying Bitcoin. Now, don't think of them as states. Think of them as mini countries. 26 countries by the end of this year will be actively buying Bitcoin, on top of El Salvador. If you think El Salvador was buying a lot of Bitcoin, wait till Texas gets hold of it. Maybe we see a natural flow of 1,000 a month coming out just from this alone. We're going to see America buying it. We're going to see other countries. There's already whispers that, Abu Dhabi are already mining Bitcoin and things like that. I mean, just imagine Abu Dhabi. They go out into the desert, United Arab Emirates, whoever it might be. They go out into the desert, they build a solar farm, and they plug it into Bitcoin miners, and they start mining their own Bitcoin, and they become a Bitcoin superpower. How do we know it's not already happening? So they've become the first. They've signed the bill establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve financed with public funds. Now, this doesn't mean that 100% of Texas's reserve funds are held in Bitcoin. It's being added to their strategic reserve. The same way that when you hear people say, oh, America is the global reserve currency. No, it isn't. It's about 56% of the global reserve currency. The euro, the pound, the Swiss franc, they are all part of the global reserve currency. It's like a big portfolio, a big fund. If you look at America, for example, they have oil, they have other assets in their strategic reserve. This isn't, for the Bitcoiners out there, this isn't revolutionary. This isn't, oh my word, what they're going to do this. This is something they've had for, I don't know, hundreds of years, 80 years maybe. So it's nothing new. It's being added as an asset. The same way that the pension funds, the firefighters pension fund is a massive fund in America. They're going to be adding Bitcoin to it. Now, this is a big thing. I'm not going to go into the details because it's not important. This is a big thing for America. It's the first step. And if you'd have said which one was going to go for it first, of course it was going to be Texas, because that's the heartland of Bitcoin in America is and crypto in America is. So of course it's going to be first. But these are all positive signs. Everything we're seeing now is noise. Go back 4 years. Bitcoin was in the doldrums because everything was in lockdown. Did it survive? Yes. Did it go higher? Yes. Everybody's going to panic if we go into the 80,000s for Bitcoin. It will pass. The sun will rise, okay? It's just one of those things, as Limp Bizkit once said. Actually, I've got a better quote. Not all that wander are lost. And when Bitcoin starts to go down there, it is not lost. It is simply following the same narrative that everything else follows. Solana cracks below key structure. Head and Shoulders breakdown points to $106. Again, it's irrelevant what I cover on here right now. I can show you projects that I think are going to be a success. I can show you price targets for certain coins. But until we come out of this period of noise, there's not really, can Solana go to $106? Yes. Can it go to $160, $155 tomorrow? Absolutely. These are just setups for scenarios that may not come to pass. And again, it is a clickbait title, but they can play out. They can absolutely play out, but they can also not play out. There is not a 100% chance of anything happening. The only certainty you have in life is death and taxes. They're the only two certainties you've got. You are going to die and you have to pay tax in some way, shape or form. They're the only two certainties in life. However, what are the chances of Solana going down to this area? Absolutely. We're at what, 138 now, 135 for Solana. 30% down, absolutely. The alts could go down another 30% if Bitcoin enters an accumulation area where people, think the bull run is over. If we go down to 88,000, 90,000 for Bitcoin, 92,000, around that area, alts are going to come down. Don't see that as a place to panic. What I would do, and what I have done since 18 months ago, I think it was, is just have some cash on the side. You've got your Solana, hopefully. You've got your Bitcoin. Hopefully you've got your Ethereum. Hopefully you've got your Cardano. Whatever else you have, I hope you've all got it. We said in September last year to pack your bags. We're a lot higher than we were in September when we said pack your bags. We went a lot higher in January. If you've got cash on the side and you like Solana, dollar cost average in over the next 16 weeks. Let's see, July, August, September. No, you've got 13 weeks. Dollar cost average in. You could get 135, 130, 115, 110, 15. You could also get 138, 145, 150, and 160. Is Solana a good long-term bet? Yes, it is. So, are these prices decent for Solana? Absolutely. I still think we're looking north of $450 towards $600 for Solana by the end of the bull run. It's got an ETF to come. We're going to come out of this period of time. If we do run to June next year, the ETF will be live. XRP's ETF will also be live. We could have a glorious run for both of these. I don't believe, by the way, that we're never going to get another alt season again. But I don't also believe that every single alt in the market is going to 100x. Their big winners are going to be the solid projects with solid fundamentals, and maybe some meme coins thrown in there just to confuse you. So Solana, could this go down to this price? Absolutely. Of course it can. Of course it can. But I'm not expecting it to. I think we might come lower, but I don't think we're going to break $100. Not now. Maybe in August. Maybe in September. I think we will. Now then, I said I was going to try and do a different type of show today because I didn't want it to be too heavy on talking about coins. You know what's happened in the market. So what the next couple of things are going to be real world assets. We're going to go through some of the real world asset picks that I've got, and then we're going to talk about this mindset. And this is a really good summary from a completely different industry. And I don't follow them. I said this at the start of the show. I don't follow Think Money because I'm a member. I'm not. And I'm not promoting them either. I've got no skin in the game. I follow them because I like what they put out. It's very simply put. Now, real world assets by market capitalization. There are certain industries or certain niches that you should have in your portfolio, in my opinion. And they are companies that make pounds, shillings, and pence. They're companies that make money. In a bull run and in a bear market, they make money. And real world assets, we had the AI narrative. We've got real world asset narratives. We've got meme coin narratives. You're always going to have a different narrative. But ask yourself a question. How does this project make money? Does it make money? And if it does, how? Jupiter is in the bin right now. It makes money hand over fist. Maybe it won't make money hand over fist in 10 years' time when it's got 20 different competitors. But today, it makes money. In the bull run, it will make bags and bags of money in the bull run. And that's what we care about, the bull run. Bitcoin is irrelevant. That is a long-term, hold it. Somebody said, what is your exit strategy from Bitcoin this cycle today on Twitter? There's no exit strategy from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the exit strategy. Bitcoin is your anchor to stop the currency debasement from blowing your ship into the deep sea. Okay? It's what keeps you grounded when everything else is worth less and less. People say things are expensive these days. They're not expensive these days. The money you're buying them with has lost value. There's a huge difference. I buy a bottle of water today and it costs me 80p. And it cost me 50p 4 years ago. Has it cost that much more to generate that water? It has in fiat, because fiat has been debased. It's lost its value. So when you moan in a shop that things cost so much, it's not the person selling you the good. It's it's the money in your pocket that you're buying it with. That's the problem. So Bitcoin is the exit strategy. I sound like Michael Saylor. I don't mean to sound like Michael Saylor. I do apologise. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi either, like he is. I must point that out. Right, let's move on to this. So I'm going to give you some picks. Basically, you should hold some of these assets if you want to hold companies that have got value. And they're not the top 5 in this instance. Chainlink should be absolutely a project that you hold. And it's a long-term hold. And by long-term hold, I mean certainly if it gets to $50, $60, $80 in this bull run, you sell it. But then you buy it back. That's what I mean by a long-term hold. Certainly Chainlink. HBAR is going to get an ETF, I believe. So that's going to naturally increase in value over time and it makes money. Ondo is over time going to build a basket of real world assets that you can invest in. So if you want to hold yield bearing stable coins, Ondo is an absolute certainty. Is the token overvalued at 67 cents? I don't think so. I think it would be overvalued at $2 to $3 right now, but it's not overvalued at that price now. VeChain has been around since before computers. I think, in fact, it was actually etched onto a caveman's wall. That's how old VeChain is. I've never liked it. I just don't like it. I don't see the value proposition of it. I understand how it makes everything tick. I just don't see the value in holding the token. Sky was a rename of Maker, was it? Did Sky come out of Maker? I can't remember. Algorand I held for a very long time and I sold a bit of it to buy Near, I think. Quant, great project, terrible price action. We're not going to go through all of these either. Right. The few that I like down here, and again, these aren't massive market caps. Of course, I'm going to tell you about Maple, but I'm not, because I always do. Maple is one I would hold. The trajectory of Maple hasn't stopped yet. It will plateau. For now, it will plateau, but it's not going to plateau just yet. Pendle. The issue that Pendle has is it's got very, very complex products. You can sell your future yield. You can hold a token that generates somebody else's future yield. It's a great project that nobody understands, but it's a solid coin. Now, I don't know whether that's ever going to go up to 5 billion, but I like the project, and I would recommend looking at it. If you look at Pendle and you look at a précis of it and you don't get the first 3 or 4 paragraphs, don't go near it as a token. If you never invest in anything you don't understand, okay? Maple makes its money from institutional investment, institutional lending, and Bitcoin yield. That's it, in a nutshell. Elevator pitch, you haven't even closed the doors on the ground. It's very simple. Other ones down here that we quite like. Mantra, again, there's so many detractors for Mantra. The coin and the project do not work hand in hand in crypto as much as they do in stocks and shares. Mantra has solid fundamentals. When they start to announce, they've already got 20, 30 different partnerships. When they get to 100 to 150 partnerships, this is a long-term play. I'm not saying you should go and buy it, but at 20 cents, could it go to 15 or 10 cents? Absolutely it can. Of course it can, especially if Bitcoin comes down. But I think I was buying it at 40 cents. I think I bought it at 40. I think I bought it at 35 and 50, something around those figures. I'm happy with it. I've staked it. I'm going to leave it be. So that one's definite. Synthetics, I think, might have too many competitors coming out, and we're not going to talk about anything lower. I did buy a little bag of Plume, by the way. But anyway, these are tiny little bags. So for me, if you had to pick 3 real-world asset projects to hold for the next 5 years, I would absolutely choose Chainlink. I would absolutely choose Ondo. And then I'm going to pick Maple. They're my 3. But certainly in that order. Chainlink, Ondo. Actually, no. Chainlink, Maple, Ondo. But I would certainly hold Ondo and Maple. There's no point in having a forced rivalry between Ondo and Maple and Pendle and all these things. They do slightly different things, but they still fall under real-world assets. And by all means, go to Grok and ask Grok what are the top 5 real-world asset crypto tokens you should look at. And then tell Grok the type of investor you are. Because Grok is going to replace an awful lot of research. It's not 100% right, by the way. It's only 95%, 90% right. But it's going to be a good research assistant for you. All right, I'm going to move on very quickly. Where are we? Okay, now, Think. The guy that runs this, David, follow him as well. I found these guys when I wrote my article, wrote my video about Gary Stevenson. Gary Stevenson is a guy that likes to talk about the fact that don't tax work, tax wealth. He's not going to can't say too much about it on here, obviously, for certain reasons. But the point of the matter is, I don't think he is all he claims to be. Jeremy Corbyn, I believe, is Jeremy Corbyn. And I believe he has no ulterior motive. And I believe he is that way. Bernie Sanders is the same. Bernie Sanders is the way he is. That's just the way they are. The same way that Donald Trump is just the way he is. Okay? I don't believe Gary Stevenson is who he is. I'll leave it at that. So I followed them, and they put this up over the weekend. I thought this was really nice. Markets either go up or they go down. You don't need 47 economic reports. Check the VIX. Analyze the yield curve, monitor earnings revisions, cross-reference it with your horoscope before making a decision, especially if you're long only, which you should be 94% of the time. I see people paralyzed by analysis, waiting for the perfect setup, the perfect entry, the perfect alignment of every single factor known to humanity. Meanwhile, they're sat in cash earning nothing while the S&P keeps grinding higher. Here's what actually matters if you're buying quality companies for the long haul. Are company earnings likely to grow over time? Will the stock market trend higher as a result? That's it. Jordan Peters, his favourite bodybuilder, said, same applies here, stop majoring in the minors, stop waiting for permission from 15 different indicators, pick your direction, size, and get on with it. Okay, and then he has a go at the Brits. Apply that to Bitcoin. Does buying Bitcoin every single day for the last 8 years end up with you in profit? Yes. Does buying Bitcoin every day for the last 4 years end up with you in profit? Yes. So buying Bitcoin today and tomorrow and the day after and the day after is all that matters. It's all that matters. We are never going to get the Goldilocks, as I mentioned it before. We're never going to get that. But we are going to get a scenario which is more favorable than it is today. So in the short term, the next 5-6 months, Bitcoin is going to go up and to the right. In the next few weeks, months, it could go down and to the side. Sideways action. Or, as KB says in chat, maybe we wicked to 98,500 and we never go there again. KB doesn't know. I certainly don't know. Nobody knows, because we don't know what's going to happen next. But we do know with absolute conviction that there is not enough Bitcoin in the world for the people that want to own it. And that's the only bit of information you need. There is not enough Bitcoin. When you wake up in the morning and you look in that mirror, you should say to yourselves, there is not enough Bitcoin in the world. Okay? Everybody is talking in the wrong metric about Bitcoin. I want to buy 100,000. This company wants to buy 200,000. This company wants to buy 500,000. There's 2 million Bitcoin. 2.1 million Bitcoin left. You add up what they all want to buy, it comes to maybe 4 or 5 million Bitcoin. So where does that Bitcoin come from? It doesn't exist. The only way that they win and you lose is when you sell your Bitcoin. And they win. Every time they win. And why do they win? Because they ignore the noise. Every time something like the Saturday and Sunday that we've just seen happens, what happens? $2 billion comes in to buy Bitcoin on different chains. Maybe buy Ethereum as well. What do? You think about selling and getting out. Okay? It's a different mindset that they have to you. They think in terms of years. If you go as far as the Rothschilds, they think in terms of generations. Chinese think in terms of generations. Why are you thinking in terms of hours and minutes and days? Think of it in terms of, I want to be able to give my son or daughter, who isn't born yet because I'm not even married, I want to give them one whole Bitcoin. I want my family for the next generations to live off Bitcoin. That should be your goal. That should be your long-term mindset, not anything else. Of course you can trade. Absolutely. You know, I scrabble around getting enough money to give away the giveaways on a Wednesday night. It's not because I'm poor. It's because I refuse to sell any Ethereum, any Bitcoin, and any Solana. That's why we scrabble around to give away $40, $50. Not because we don't have the money, but because there is no point in me selling Bitcoin to give to you, because the Bitcoin I'm giving to you today will be worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars in a few years' time. I'd rather sell Crow, sell some of the meme coins that we've got. That's the mindset you need to have. Lock it away and never touch it. And you are never going to get the perfect entry in anything. It does not happen. Good morning, Tariq. You are probably going to want to watch back the segment about Jupiter, which I made. Think Money is good. Follow them and David too. Yeah. Well, me and Dave have had a few private chats. I do like him. Yeah. I mean, again, the other thing is, you shouldn't believe anybody on anything. And I've always said this. You should always have a cross spectrum of people that you watch and read and listen to, because I might come across, and my head's in the background when I lift my hands up, I might come across as really, really boring, really, really negative. I'm a negative bull. I'm a bearish bull. Maybe that's me. But if you fill your head with the wrong people and you end up in the wrong mindset, you get wrecked. Very simply put, you get wrecked, because they only care about selling at the top and you holding while they sell. You're their exit liquidities. And that's not the case with everybody. It's not the case with certain people. You should certainly listen to, who do I like listening to? I like I used to like Crypto Jeb, but he had a lot of family issues. He doesn't do it anymore. Ben Cowan. If there's one person to listen to in crypto, Ben Cowan is the person. Now, he doesn't really talk about alts. He talks about Bitcoin. He talks about Ethereum, and that's pretty much it. Maybe ADA occasionally. Ben Cowan's good to listen to. There aren't that many. But then again, there's other people. If you want to go on, Crypto Banter's got a really good guy on there. I don't like one of them, but one of them's really good on there. Crypto Zaros, I don't even know what he does anymore. He just regurgitates stuff that's been out for 3 or 4 weeks. He's, I think, living off the previous cycle. But there's a few people out there. You just got to dig for them. You've got to find some gems. Which reminds me, talking about gems, the last thing I'm going to say before I go, because it's 10 past 12, we are in two top 20 lists of crypto streamers in the UK. We're in 2 top 20 lists. We found them completely by accident. I think we're 17th on one, which isn't bad really. And I think we are 5th or 6th on another. So there you go. We're in 2 lists. Where's my prize? That's what I want to say to them. Anyway, it's 11 minutes past 12. I've gone way over. Missed one article. Last thing I'm going to say is quiz night on Wednesday. Tariq, this is yours. This is your night, Tariq. You're going to do this. Okay? Now, we're going to find a balance. Maple Finance was hard. I admit that. I made it hard. The last quiz on WolfSwap was too easy. Again, this is going to be the Goldilocks quiz. Mew is going to have 10 easy, 10 medium, and 10 hard questions. And the answers will not all be number 1. Okay, let's put that out there as well. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a great Monday. I think it's going to be a green day. Maybe we go back to 104, 105 today. I think the market's going to go up unless something dramatic happens. And then, of course, we will nuke. But stay the course. Don't give up your Bitcoin to anybody. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.